Greetings, everyone, and
third.
welcome to FactionMasters Season 6. We are bringing you Game 9 today between the Fallen Kingdom of Dark Thomy and the Fungal Dwarves as played by OrangeLazarus. And I am joined for our commentary by the Fallen Kingdom player, Dark Thomy. Hello.
Greetings, everyone. I'm glad to be here. I will have to thank Kiri to give me his place because actually I wasn't the first place with FK, but I'm glad to be here.
Yes, and before we begin, do you have any thoughts about your strategy for this matchup? Do you see the Fallen Kingdom as trying to find an explosive combo, or do you think you can grind it out and win the battle of attrition? What's your angle here?
Well, this is precisely why I'm glad to be here. It is to showcase my very, in my opinion, very particular way of playing FK. I believe I'm not the only one to play FK as a very, very combo-oriented faction. But I'm surely am the only one to play FK champs as much. And to answer, well, it can be difficult to keep the Eco Noir with FD, but as I always say, Eco Noir, grinding, or anything is only a way to give FK options up until you have an occasion to pull off your combo, your big Blood Summon combo. Well, we'll see.
Okay.
It is definitely possible, especially with a good purge, because FD likes to protect himself with barriers. Barriers are actually both a good target for effect, target for purge.
All right. Well, I hope we can see some of those champions. Let's get the game started, and we'll see what happens. Going first here, and it looks like we're
it's
just
classical.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Any faction with 2 HP starting units, I tend to try to get the kill easily, and you'll see reach 6 mana.
There it is. There's the 6 mana.
Yeah. It's actually pretty easy, barely an inconvenience to reach 6 mana in one turn with FK.
Wow. I see that it looks like OrangeLazarus is trying to block the summoning spot on that wall, as well as remove your units from the board.
Yeah. I believe we say tug of war. It's a bit of a tug of war zombie matchup. There, I believe I decided to, as you can see, the primary target was the beast, and for multiple turns, that carrier on my gate, I will actually almost ignore it because this is not placed within the bloom range.
Right, within the diamond,
lonely
as we say sometimes.
So far away. Yeah. So it's not very important actually. It will be eventually an undead carrier, so it's not something I necessarily want to get rid of.
Yeah, OrangeLazarus has an early
So,
call deck here. He's using the stim shrooms to place him to boost this carrier, and now using the demand
yeah,
to make sure it dies to be replaced by the fungal beast.
Yeah, when I saw that that first demand, I was like, huh, it's a bit surprising because uh, I li- uh, I like to think of demand as a very powerful card, and there it was used as only for only a bit of value, I would say. I mean, Baldar could have killed the carrier as well. I was relieved, and there it is, Dragos. So the idea behind using champ with FK, there are two ideas. The first one is you have to protect them, and it's actually a pretty easy to do. To try with Archer, because you can always raise one undead Archer to at least block some lanes. And even with carriers, actually you have to support your champion once it is on the field. And the second idea is that in the end, in fact, champions are mere distraction for the opponent to forget about bolt summons, and for me to create an opening. But on the other hand, if my opponent really ignores my champion, well, you can create quite a bit of value with it during the game. Most FK champion can actually show off 5 HP target, and yeah, as you can see, is more focused on my own carriers than on my. I hope
Yeah,
I'm clear enough when I talk here. By the way, I didn't mention it, but during some of the last turns when he used Steam Pro, he could have chose to move his mage to push some damage, but but instead he chose value.
hmm
I guess build control. But in the end, some carriers, stick to field, and well, yes, it will go a long way.
I like using that archer to protect
There
Dragos as he
again,
advances.
yeah, exactly. It's not even really blocking the gate, even though it's an added bonus, but
hmm
really to protect Dragos.
Well, we're really getting into the thick of it
There,
things here. Just a
Maldar.
big mass of units clogging up the middle.
Yeah, yeah, and trust me, when I saw that six boost beast,
Yeah.
I was quite worried.
Okay, here's the first blood summon.
Yes. So it is a rare occurrence of me using Blood Summon for something else that's a big combo. I really use it only to be a bit more safe. So there is my first purge. I was really scared about the fight with beast, and while I was thinking about my turn, I could have get rid of beast with purge, but it would have my summoner at risk of steam form, and I realized that by using blood summon, I could be safe and also with a good chance to get rid of the beast.
Yeah, you're really driving
Very
apart
sensitive.
his formation here with the
Yeah.
this line of carriers.
Yeah. So the fun fact, when reboost carriers die, if I use infect, he cannot spawn a beast because I choose the order and the place is already taken by the undead carrier. So, it was a bit of a mistake. Granted, I got lucky on the rolls, but it wasn't that hard of a roll. And there you can see that Dragos is still alive because, well, it's a bit like the theory behind the gate. You usually don't want to take your whole turn to get rid of the 5 HP gate. There it's the same. You didn't have time to get rid of the champion.
Yeah.
There. Once again, he chose to prioritize my carriers, which makes sense. Makes sense, especially because he has released the spore. Otherwise, it would be a great road toward summoner.
Well, I think you need
So,
a pyre
there
here
is
soon.
another.
Red Talus is getting pretty low on life.
So at this point, I believe I discarded one pyre first turn because I don't really like pyre.
Oh, okay.
I'm a bit weird. Yeah, I find it that usually the game is over before you really need the 2 pyre, and also pyre cost 1 mana. And if you don't have a great setup for it, doesn't give much value. So usually spend it.
Right here, we're seeing the
Yeah.
effect of which you spoke, in which the infectability takes priority, so the beast can't be summoned here.
Yeah. Okay,
so once again, Koldak is finding himself beleaguered by zombies. The boosts are really piling up, but it seems like he doesn't have a good way to spend them. And Dragos is just being ignored over here on the side.
Yeah, as I said. But it's interesting because he's slowly getting his way up, and Dragos, you can also see him as a blood summon gate. You know? That's again trying to get rid of all the carriers. The second demand, when I saw the second demand used for quote only that, I was starting to feel a bit confident.
It's always a relief to see such a powerful event out of the game. You don't have to worry about it or plan for it now. This is your second purge now.
Purge.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, funny enough, an event I tend to discard also, at least one of them. But in this game, well, I can say I drew them at good value. Trying to block a maximum of space around the deck.
Well, you're doing a great job of putting pressure on Koldak here, while Dragos is just kind of lurking around the outside, slowly getting closer and closer. He puts up the gate to try to block, but is very yeah, he's just menacing on the outskirts
Slowly.
there.
Slowly but surely. To be fair, I got quite lucky with my two melee dice with
Yeah.
the targets. So far, so good. And I have to confess, when I use the first blood summon, there is another thing that motivated me to use it for value only. If I'm not mistaken, I already had the second in hand. That's the situation that can happen, but it's very bad. Very bad for both. So, no point to sleep with two blood summon in your hand. Here, a player, but well, I was not obligated to use the player. I could wait, reach 6 mana again. I had a chance again. But with that turn, that blood summon, I was like, okay, it's probably near the end. So I'd rather use the player value and hopefully still reach 6 mana later.
Yeah, there's nowhere for Koldak to run. He's really surrounded here. And even without Dragos attacking, there's always that threat. Lots of carriers around for him to use Life Drain.
Finally, the warrior. So I always keep, of course, one warrior for a good blood summon. Usually I use the second for lethal. But there, since Kuldak would be trapped, completely trapped at the end of the turn, I was like, it's probably good enough, even if it's not lethal. Well, really bad roll, but to be fair, there was low, there was not very high chance to kill the warrior with only one attack. And yeah, I planned that getting rid of the 3 units surrounding Kuldak would be very unlikely. And there, wonderful.
Yes, this
Wonderful.
should do
Yeah,
it.
it's a bit overkill.
Yeah. Well,
It's a bit overkill, but it's a wonderful Dragos hit. He wasn't useless in the end.
it's great when Dragos can't miss. Yeah, very much overkill there.
Yes, it's actually good.
Okay. Wow, what a very interesting game. I don't think I've ever seen a Fallen Kingdom game quite like that one before. That was very different, but very effective.
Yeah, it's quite effective, I would say. I don't know if it is the optimal way to play, but I'm glad I had quite success with the playstyle. And I can fairly say now that in every game of FK I play, I always play at least one champion. So it is very much my playstyle. I'm really glad able to show you that with success. The profit.
All right. Well, we
Thank you.
yeah, thank you too, and congratulations. We look forward to seeing you in the next round. And thanks to all our viewers for joining us for this game. We will see you all next time for more Faction Masters.